All right, folks. Money isn't just about numbers, it's about mindset. Some people make millions, I mean millions, and still struggle, while others build wealth on an average income. Why? Because true wealth isn't just about what you learn, it's how you think and manage your money. Tonight, Coach and I are going to be diving into money mindset, how to build wealth and purpose and legacy how to build wealth with purpose and legacy in mind. Are you making money work for you, or are you just working for money? Let's break it down and shift our mindset toward financial freedom. Again, I will say that this is our information, our interpretation, our version, our own personal feelings and thoughts when it comes to money based off of our experiences. So if you're just tuning in, want to repeat that and go ahead and hit that like button. So, Mr. Mindset Coach, you are ripe, young age of 50 now. And at some point, you probably went out there and you said, Mom, Dad, somebody, I want to get a job and I want to get some money. Right. So, what was your first experience with money? Your first experience that you can remember with money?
So 51, just putting that out there.
51. 51.
51,
There we
yeah.
go.
Um, it's interesting you asked that because my first memorable experience with money was a conversation I had with my grandfather. He gave me $5, and it took him all of 5 minutes to ask for it back. And I was like, no,
Mm,
turned away from him and everything. He said, come here, son. And I was like, no, he said, come here. So I went to him and he said, let me see your hand. So I gave him the other hand that didn't have the money in it, right? And because you young, you got money, you're gonna hold on to it. You just want to play with it and all
yeah.
that other great stuff. And he said, "Let me see your hand." So I gave him the other hand. He said, "Open your hand up." So I opened my hand up. He said, "See how your hand is right now?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "That means it can grab anything that it wants." He said, "Now once you grab it and close it," he said, "nothing else can get in."
Mm,
He said, "So the point behind it is that sometimes we get things and we hold on to that thing so tight that it doesn't make room for anything else." So I was like, it's funny that story stuck with me my entire life because I really do believe that. I really believe that sometimes, and I go back to our ancestors because they used to call it a piece of money. You get a piece of money and you hold on to that piece of money so tight that it doesn't get the opportunity to go out there and find friends. And I make that make sense later on.
I like that. And I see what you did too. You just threw that there right in the end. You just threw it on it there. So that's a good thing, folks. So that means we're gonna have Coach gonna be able to peel this onion back a little bit more for us. It's funny how you said that your first experience with money was with your grandfather that you remember. I remember mine being with my grandmother. I
Mm,
remember being over her house and we walking around and getting snacks, whatever, and she like, come here, Junior. And then we go in her closet, right? And in her closet is was the elevator. So she had a deep freezer. It looked, I mean, my grandma lived in a small apartment, a two-bedroom apartment. And in the closet, we would walk into the closet and she would cut the light off and then she'd be like, we in the elevator. She cut the light on and we on a different floor. And for us little kids, that was like great. But I remember when I was little, sometimes she would like shake my hand, she'd grab my hand and she put a couple quarters or something in my hand. So for me, that was the first experience that I remember with money. And it was my grandma sneaking me money behind the backs of my other siblings. So then, we leave grandma's house and I got some quarters and stuff like this. And it was cool. Sometimes I'd be like, nah, nah, boo, boo. But you know what I mean? Sometimes
yeah,
I wouldn't say nothing, but then I come back from the store and I have some snacks or I buy me some ice cream or something
yeah,
like that at school, man. So, it's interesting that our first experience that we're talking about has to do with our grandparents, even
yeah,
though, at least for me, my grandmother died a long time ago. Is yours
yeah.
still your grandfather still
No,
alive?
both of them
Yeah,
passed away years ago. Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
yeah, man.
Grandparents, man.
It just goes to show how powerful your mind really is.
Hmm.
Like some of your most memorable experience. You probably don't remember anything that went on around it, but you remember that one isolated event. And
Hmm.
of course, I have others as well, but that to me is like one of the most memorable ones, and really the first one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Um, I know a lot of times, well, on here we talk about mindset,
Hmm.
but I think when it comes to money, I think sometimes people like to bring up habit and their spending habits, where our spending habits come from our mindset. You know what I mean? But what do you think is one spending habit that keeps people stuck financially, and how can they break it? Even if we don't get to the how they break it, which I'm sure we will, it's interesting. I want to hear what you got to say, because even if you make it be transitional and make it about you, because I know I had some habits that used to keep me stuck. So I'm just interested seeing what you got to say about this.
So I love this question because I want to answer it in two parts. Because you did say
Hmm.
spending habits. Um, I think our desire to be accepted is one of the things that get in the way of our spending habits. And along with that desire to be accepted, what we end up doing is we want to make sure that we look the best. Like when we step out, we want to make sure that we look good. Like we're looking for that wow effect. Well, here's the funny part about it. The people that I know that make money, and I'm not talking about like making $40 an hour either. I'm talking about making money. I'm talking about over like 4 and 5 figures a day. Like those people don't care what they wear. To be honest with you, they don't care how other people perceive them. So I think one of the biggest spending habits that keep us stuck is our own esteem. Like we want people to look at us and be like, man, what is that, Mister? What is that, Mister Martin is wearing? Where you get them shoes from, bro? Like, where that suit come from? Those are the things that we think about, and it's not just about what we wear. It's also about what we drive and how we live. And so we do a lot of things looking for external validation without realizing that you're just very short sighted instead of looking for the looking at the long haul. Now, make no mistake about it. I'm talking about who I used to be. That was a young coach, right? Young coach before he became coach was really concerned about how people seen him. Had to have the latest J's. I mean, would be at the Foot Locker when they
Yeah,
opened the gate to really. Yeah, I had to be in that
absolutely.
line because I need to get them J's.
Yeah.
Because here's the other side to it. Because I didn't get them when I was younger. I didn't get the name brands when I was younger. So what ends up happening is that becomes a stigma in your mind because I didn't get it then. Now that I'm working and now that I have a job, I got to get it now. The other side to it, because this question is, it says habit. And I wanted to make sure I answer your question and give that question value because I love that question. Now, what's the one habit that keeps people stuck financially? First is they are shopping through the lens of their identity. And because they're shopping through the lens of their identity, they automatically have a preconceived notion that because, and I've said it before, I got to work twice as hard and be as twice as smart, right? And so that keeps me stuck financially because that keeps reverberating in your head. And the reason why it keeps reverberating in your head because you heard it so many times when you were younger growing up. So you got to get in there and rewrite that code to say, no, I don't have to work twice as hard. I have to leverage twice as much. I don't have to be twice as smart. I can be smart in a particular thing and know people who are smarter than me and get to the point to where make them a part of the team or be a part of their team or whatever. And then we all can, you know, get paid. Here's the other side to it. And if I'm getting a little long winded, brother, I
Nope.
apologize.
Keep it rolling.
You speaking my language now, right?
Yeah.
We believe that money, and I'm just going to call it straight out. We believe that money is a finite resource. And so we behave in such a degree to where it seems as though there's not enough to go around for all of us and live comfortably. And when I say live comfortably, I'm not talking about 1,100 square feet and you driving a Yugo or a Pinto or something of that nature. I'm talking about you living like really how you want to live and driving what you want to drive, not for the sake of other people to see, but because you want to treat yourself. And I don't think anything is wrong with that, right? So, the way that you can break all of these habits, you got to break free of everything that keeps you stuck, everything that is a weight holding you down. Every mental limitation that prevents you from seeing yourself as being a person that's a resource manager. And when I say that, I say if you I'm saying that to say that if you recognize that money is simply a resource, right? Once you recognize that money is simply a resource, I'm supposed to be a vessel for resources. So even if it comes in, it also must go out. And for me, I have to manage it in such a way that it goes out to where it works. It shouldn't go out to stay stagnant. It should go out to work. And if I do that, when it goes out, it's going to come back. And when it comes back, it's going to come back with some partners, some friends, some homeboys, some cousins, some in laws, and outlaws. And that's really what you have to focus your mind to do. So, again, like I said, I apologize for being long winded, man, but this is my topic right here.
Definitely not long winded, and definitely there was a lot for people to be able to chew on. I was grabbing and soaking up and writing some things down. I also wrote down two things. I only had one thing written down, and then you also went right to one of the scenario questions, which we're going to get to right after this question because it just fits and it just ties right into it, and that's just the way we're going to do the show tonight. So what I wrote down was this. Mine was my one habit that keeps people financially stuck financially is not getting information, not learning. What I don't understand, and I do understand, but I don't understand what took me so long to start learning about money when we started getting money at 15, 14, most of us when we started working a job. But how much literature have we read? How many YouTube videos have we watched? How many seminars or conferences have we went to learn more about being financially secure and financially stable? I would think that most people are not doing those things, just because if you look at how a lot of people are living, you can look not to you can throw a rock and find somebody living outside of their means. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it is Yeah, so I think part of it is just the fact that people are not learning or seeking information to learn more about something that they use for the most part on a daily basis. Like, why is it that we use money almost every single day, but we don't learn more about how to be better with our money? We're in relationships with people, but we don't learn how to be better at our relationships. It's a lot of times we just don't. So I think just not doing is one habit that people have that keeps them stuck. And another thing that you said is this is not to this question, but it is. And you said, well, it is um a habit and that keeps people stuck is treating themselves. Now, I understand what you said. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself when you have, but when you have this deserved mentality that I got to treat myself every time I get paid, and I got to go out to eat, and every 2 years I got to get me a new car. And you're not financially stable, you don't really deserve that. At least that's my opinion. Again, this is my opinion.
Hmm.
I don't think that those people are really financially, and I think a lot of them are stuck in certain places, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. So what do you think about those um couple of things that I said? Not people not getting information, and people always feeling like they need to treat themselves even though they may not have the means to do so.
I don't disagree with any of them at all. Like, again, going back to the information is the thing that you're going to use to rewire your foundational knowledge about finances, about money. And that is a necessary thing to do. But and I agree with the treating yourself once you're in the position to treat yourself. Again, if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, the last thing I need to be out here doing is adding to the millions that Michael Jordan already have. The last thing I need to be doing is adding to the millions that Ralph Lauren already have. Like, listen, I'm, I get it. I understand that there are aspects of your life to where you want to make sure. um, that you're okay, that you're being taken care of, that you feel good about yourself. But this is the thing that I would say: if what's on the outside is what makes you feel good about yourself, then there's a lot of work that you need to do on the inside. So call coach, call myself so that we can help you with that work, because I'm telling you, that's where a lot of our problems stem from. The desire to feel good about ourselves, which stem from our external garments. Those garments are going to fade away. Those garments are going to be turned over to Goodwill or whatever that looks like. Um, but one thing you said, I kind of want to touch on, and you said you made mention of relationship, and I love the fact that you mentioned relationship, because I was going to talk about that later. Some of us need to take a look at our relationship with money. See,
Uh-oh.
everything is relationship, and I need to have evidence in my life that shows that I have the capacity to have great relationships. People are a great source of evidence for me to determine whether I have the ability to have great relationships. 9 times out of 10, and I have not ran the specs on this yet, just to put it out there. People with great relationships, and I don't mean, and I'm not talking about relationships, just regular. I mean, great relationships where they add value and other people add value to them as well. People with great relationships generally don't have financial issues. Again, I haven't run the numbers on it yet to see if that's statistically accurate, but look around, pay attention. If they have great relationships, 9 times out of 10, they're not living check to check. It's just my thoughts.
There you go. You starting to dig into the future of these of the show. We might not get to it, so you might be good. But you know what? For we gonna thank everybody for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button, sharing all those different things. Really appreciate you. Um, let me jump right to one of the scenario questions.
Okay.
All right, so a woman, a man, whoever you want to put in there. A woman overspends to impress others, drowning in debt. On social media, she's thriving. Behind the scenes, she's struggling. How can people break free from financial comparison?
Mm,
Because I
pull,
see this all the
pull,
time.
pull, pull the plug. Pull the plug. I'm going to start by saying that. First and
Pull the
foremost,
plug. Just rip the band-aid off, just
it,
like that.
just pull the plug. Just rip the band-aid off, whatever. Um, this person, if we're talking specifically about this person is not going to break free unless that person learned to stop comparing themselves to other people. That's for starters. Secondly, this person learned to relinquish the need to impress others. That's secondly. Thirdly, this person, going back to what we said previously, this person understand how money actually works. That's the To me, the last part is the big part, but you'll never get to the big part until you take care of these little ankle biters. And I call them ankle biters because really they're not hard to change. I think the duration, going back to what we talked about a few episodes ago, right? When we start looking at neuroplasticity, the duration of time that you've been doing a thing makes it very difficult for you to not do the thing. That's why I say pull the plug, rip the band-aid off. Stop comparing yourself. Stop needing to impress other people. Like, let's be honest with you. I don't know who this person is, so I use examples like TikTok. I promise you, when I close that TikTok app, I ain't thinking about nobody I just looked at on the video. So why are we trying to impress people that we don't know? Why are we trying to impress people, period? Right? Stop that. That is a fallacy within itself. They're not impressed. They're just probably pandering to your ego in that particular point in time. So you're going to have to stop doing that. Stop doing a comparison. Stop trying to impress people. Then go understand how money works. Once you understand how money works, then you realize that those things that you were doing was a fruitless endeavor in itself. Fruitless endeavors will never yield fruit. It's an amazing thing to me, right? Because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Not on Coach's Corner. I think it was in Bible study. The difference between a fruit and a vegetable is that the seed is actually found in the fruit. So if you view money as seed, the seed for more money is actually found in the money that you currently have. But you don't know it to be that way because you're using the fruit like vegetable. A vegetable is a seed. So you're eating the seed. In essence, if you heard what I just said, you heard what I just said. You're eating the seed. A vegetable is the seed itself. If you want more vegetables, go plant the vegetable and it will grow more vegetables. So what you're doing is you're eating the seed, but it does not perform in you the way it's supposed to perform money wise, because that's not what it was made for. It was made for you to take it and go sow it someplace else. So long, I apologize. That's my
Bro, I think a lot of people missed it because I almost missed it. I almost missed the analogy with the seed. So, look, I'm definitely gonna go back and watch that. I'm probably gonna clip that up. Where we at? 24, 20 minutes, 25. Okay. The mental note where it is. I'm for real because, like, I've never heard it expressed in that form, in that way before, and it was I liked it. I mean, that was a good one. I guess the only thing I'll add to this one is, like that piece that you talking about at the end, like knowing the purpose of money and a different mindset about it and knowing how money works. Because like the same thing, like what you'll understand is like you can live, I mean, you can visually dress yourself like a lot of celebrities on TV. You just go to the Goodwill. You know what I mean? You can go to Salvation Army, you can go to thrift stores and you can buy a lot of hand-me-down stuff. So it's like if you want to do it, do it. You know what I mean? But just figure out a different way of doing it. Like I I buy a lot of stuff, but there's also a lot of things that I don't buy. I don't like spending a whole bunch of money on water. You know what I mean? I rather take all my water money that I would spend on bottled water all the year, and I rather, spend it on vacation or a part or a piece of a RC car. You know what I mean? So it's
hmm
like, you know, I don't like hate spending money sometimes on eating out, man. It's just Man, that's one for me, and I know that's something that everybody does, and I eat out too, but man, if I had it my day, I would eat out hardly ever. You know what I mean?
and see for me, I think I get that. I don't want to mislead anybody when I say that. But
Mhm.
but for me, I view it just the opposite. I don't do it often, but when I do it, I don't mind doing it because I'm looking for like I don't okay, so since the pandemic, I haven't really been restaurant, whatever. But before then, I did not mind going to a restaurant. It didn't really matter to me the menu or the prices on the menu,
Yeah.
especially if the ambiance in the service is top notch. If the ambiance in the service is top notch, I'm paying for what's on the menu all day long. But if
Mhm.
it's not, because let's be honest, the reason why you go out to eat is so that you ain't got to wash the dishes, right? I'm gonna start there
Yeah.
first. But the other part is for the environment, like the service, like the ambiance of the establishment. That's why you go out to eat. If you're going out to eat, there's a bigger problem. There's a bigger concern.
Yeah.
You know
See,
what I'm
here's
saying?
my thing. I got the ambiance at home.
Right.
I got my plate laid down. She'll take care of me. Then I get to smack her on the butt when she walk away. You know what I mean? And Imma give her a tip. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's like I like that. But I mean, I'm not like anti going out to eat. I think a lot of it has to do with being in the military for a lot of time and being TDY a lot. I mean, I was TDY for 78 days one time,
Oh
man.
man.
And I had to eat out breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
hmm
And I was just like, dang, man. It was like I just got tired of eating out. I enjoy it for the most part every once in a while. I enjoy the time that, I spend with the people when we do go out to eat. I like the fact that, sometimes, like you said, we ain't got to wash no dishes up in here. So there are definitely some positives to eating out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How we got all we on that, man.
I don't know. That's fine
But while we on it, man,
because we can.
go to that one. Got some other scenarios or a talking point. So here's a talking point, coach. Now we see this all the time on television, and if chat, feel free to chime in and put your 2 cents in. So why is it, or here's a statement: do whatever it is you want to do with it. The lotto winner who went broke. Have at it.
Well, again, more money does not fix a broke thought process. So it doesn't matter how much money that. Like I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions we have. If I just make more money, then that will solve my problems. No, it
Oh,
won't.
that used to be me.
I think again, the things I'm saying, I'm not excluded from them because that used to be
Mhm.
me as well. If I just make more money, that'll solve my problems. Well, no, because you still think the same way you thought before you made more money. So unless you plan on taking some of that money to fix your thinking, then that money is going to go the exact same place the other money went. Right. So he who is faithful with little will be faithful with much. But the problem is that we believe, really believe, that more money will solve my problems. No, it's just going to solve your immediate problems. You're going to go and you're going to create bigger problems, and then you're going to lose all of your winnings, and then people will be like, "How in the world does that happen?" Like I think a story, and yeah, a story that that people can learn from, and this is a different scenario, is like I call it MC Hammer syndrome because in MC Hammer's scenario, he wanted to take care of everybody. His heart was in the right place, but his money IQ just wasn't in the right place.
Mhm.
And from my understanding, he had an accountant that wasn't really doing the right thing. MC Hammer made a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I can't take care of everybody. So the people that you take care of should be the people that were influential in the things that you're doing. And so I know I kind of went from one scenario to another, but I think it's all goes back to the same thing: mindset, how you see it, how you view it, what you use it for. Again, it is simply a resource. So when you look at anybody who won the lottery and went broke, peel the onion back. I guarantee you're going to realize that the way that they thought about finances never changed after they got the lottery. Because here's the deal: you're not the only person that know you won the lottery. Everybody who wants a piece of it is going to remind you that you won the lottery every time they pick up the phone and call you and say, "Hey man, listen, I know you won the lottery. I know you're looking for a great investment tip. I got the startup company." So I'm saying, like, everybody's going to come at you from all angles, and they're going to offer you this. They're going to try to sell you this. They're going to remind you that, hey, you owe me this, or all of that stuff is happening. And at the end of the day, you're going to bite on some, you're going to push some aside, but you probably have never defined a purpose when you've got your check, your lottery winnings. You never defined what you want this money to do for you. So it left aimlessly and then just set out to do whatever you said for it to do. Buy me this car, buy me this house, buy me that entire wall right there. That's what I want. Bag it up and take it to my truck. That's what ends up happening when people win the lottery. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some great success stories. Some people win the lottery and they never look back because they had the right people in their corner giving them the right pieces of advice because the people that were giving them advice had a very high money IQ.
Yeah, I just looked up, man. It said that nearly one third of lottery winners eventually go bankrupt within 3 to 5 years. You know, and I also think a lot of this has to do with where you're at in your life and how much information you've accumulated. Like if I would have won the lottery a long time ago, I probably would have went broke too. You know what I mean? If I had won the lottery at 22, 25, probably would have went broke, especially if it was like under a million. I pretty much guarantee I probably would have went broke.
And here's the funny
Um,
part.
huh?
Here's the funny part. Somebody who heard you say that, they said, not me.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee
Yep.
they said, not me. It
Hmm.
wouldn't have been me. Okay.
But knowing what I know now about money and knowing what I didn't know then, oh yeah, I would have blew that money. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I'm not egotistical. I ain't egotistical. I know myself well enough to know that
Right.
if what I probably would have blew mine. Because I've made a bunch of money. I remember being in Korea making $85,000 a year and living paycheck to paycheck. How the
Mm.
heck you make $85,000 a year and living paycheck to paycheck? I ain't got no mortgage. You know what I mean? I'm in Korea. I don't got no I ain't got no car payment. I ain't got no rent. How in the world I'm in Korea living paycheck to paycheck? I mean, I
Can
did.
I share? Can I share a thought?
Yeah.
Because I know we
E7.
say I know we say living paycheck to paycheck as a staple of being bad, but I want to make sure I'm saying this: living paycheck to paycheck is not bad as long as you're living paycheck to paycheck for the right reason.
Yeah. Now, I was living paycheck to paycheck because I was paying off my debt. So I was debt free at the time. I did get debt free,
Hmm.
but I met Shell and she starts taking all my money. Um and got in debt again. Shout
You're
out
gonna
to
get
Shell.
you're gonna get in trouble after the show. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's okay. We can make up. I'm okay with it. But yeah, man, I think these lotto winner things, man, it's interesting. Like you said, when we were young, we look at how in the world that people get all this money and they go broke. And like you said, it comes down to that mindset and what happened in their mindset and what information they had about money before they actually acquired it. So um we're gonna move right along, man. Speaking of mindset, and paycheck to paycheck. I told you, coach, I was gonna be all up in. It's just like I don't know if you looked at the question. Well, I know you can look at them because we just started it. But anyway, here we go, man. What role does mindset play in breaking free from paycheck to paycheck living? You may have already said it.
It is the role. Like
Mm,
they're like I'm telling you, it is the operations officer. It is the mainframe computer. It is everything behind it. It is the electricity that runs your house. Like living paycheck to paycheck is, and that's why not for this question because I didn't even see the question. To be honest with you, but that's why I said that living paycheck to paycheck is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if I'm living paycheck to paycheck and every ounce of what I'm spending is either in bills and creature comforts, right?
mm,
The things that make me feel good, creature comforts.
yeah.
So if that's why I'm living paycheck to paycheck, that's a bad thing. But if I'm living paycheck to paycheck because I am forking money in the 401k, or I'm forking money into my Roth IRA, or I'm forking money into other vehicles that are geared toward retirement, right? That's not a bad reason to live paycheck to paycheck. That's actually a good reason to live paycheck to paycheck, right? It keeps you humble. It keeps you living within a certain mean, but you're playing the long game. Like, make no mistake about it, all of these get rich quick schemes and things of that nature, yeah, and I fell victim to some of them in the past, right? All of those things, all of these over super ambitious people that believe that I'm going to sell these t-shirts, I'm going to make $1 million selling t-shirts. Yeah, it's like 1 in 1 millionth of a chance of that happening. That's just like,
Yeah.
winning a lottery. Like, and I know we talked about it the other day, Mr. Beast. Like, there's not a lot of Mr. Beasts out there. Let's just be
Nope.
completely
Just
transparent.
one.
Right. It's just one. So everybody else is financing their way into productivity. So I think that's the thing. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck because you're investing in your dream, you're investing in your future, you're investing in your children's future, or whatever that looks like, that's not a bad reason to live paycheck to paycheck. So we gotta. I want to say that first because I don't want people to see paycheck to paycheck and think anybody who lives paycheck to paycheck is because they're blowing all their money. That's not 100% true. If we're spending our money, I'm working X amount of hours a week. I make X amount of dollars, and my expenditures are X amount of dollars minus $100 until I get paid again. Well, that's not a great place to be in because you're one emergency away from needing to go to borrow some money. But when I borrow that money now, I still got to pay that money back with interest now, which is how they make money, right? So the mindset in most cases that keep us handicapped is the fact, kind of like what we talked about. We try to impress people. We try to do this. We try to do that. So when we look at that mindset, like, it is imperative that we rewrite the code in our head so that we can have a better understanding of money. It's not so much as the job. Like, man, I wish we would get out of this mentality that my job is everything. Your job is not everything. Like, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but your job is not everything. So let's just keep that in mind. Oh man, my bad,
A
my bad.
man hates his high paying job but spends to fill the void. He wants purpose but feels stuck financially. How can he use money to escape the cycle and find fulfillment?
Use his job to finance his dream. I can't say that any plainer.
Yeah.
A job has a purpose, but keep in mind, a job, you when you get caught in a job cycle, you're not the most important person there. Like, the job don't really care about you. The job just care that you do what you agreed to do. But here's
Yeah.
the reality of the truth. I spend 40 hours a week at a job, but I spend 10 hours a week with my family. Do the math. You get off work, you decompress from work, you got to cook or clean or do whatever it is you got to do. Your normal routine. By that time, you may have like 1 or 2 hours to spend with the kids. Well, you add that up over the course of 5 days, that's about 10 hours. Then you got the weekend. So then the weekend, guess what you're gonna do? I'm gonna spend job money because we got to do something now because I spent all week at the job. So let's go out and see. Let's go out and eat. Let's go out and do this. Let's go to the amusement park. So What ends up happening, I go spend X amount of money, whatever I made at job, I made $40 an hour. Well, guess what? This amusement park, it just cost me $15 an hour because of all the money I spent at the amusement park. So all of this stuff is it's like a give and take. So don't use your job and get comfortable in job. Use your job to finance your dream and then focus on that. Once your dream gets to the point that it outpaces your job, or at least gets to the point that it finances your lifestyle, not necessarily outpace your job, because I don't agree with that piece, but at least until it finances your pace, your lifestyle, leave job, invest that 40 hours into your dream, and so that you can surpass what you were making at your job.
Um, I get all of that, but I have a change of mind that I've had over some years when it comes to a job.
Hmm.
Um, and some of it came from entrepreneurship. So I was always like, you need to work and then you need to get off the plantation and you need to start your own thing. But then I started looking at some jobs or professions that people don't want to leave and they enjoy, like being a doctor. You may not want the hassle of owning your own practice, or
Hmm.
you may be a surgeon and you like your job. So I think when we're looking at jobs, we're looking at there's different, not all jobs are created equal.
Sure.
When you got them jobs that like what you were talking about, I get those. Those a lot of people will find themselves in them situations, and that's not what. So I understand that. So I would just wanted to point out that some of the jobs that are good. And I think people find purpose in, that kid who was 8 years old and ever since he grew up, he wanted to be Dookie Howser and he wanted to be a surgeon. You know what I mean? He is, but at the same time, he also probably fulfilling his purpose and not feeling stuck in a job or something at the same time. So this question, the scenario is probably now that I think about it, maybe, ooh, you had a thought going on up
I
there.
did because I see what you said, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Hmm.
But I raise you this:
Okay.
whatever you do for somebody else, they'll never pay you what you're worth. So
That is
even
true.
in the profession of being a doctor, in most cases, like especially when you start talking about those specialists, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times the reason why they stay with the hospitals is because they don't have to advertise their services. The hospital does it. And the
Mhm.
hospital make a percentage of what they actually do, but they still make a lot of money. But
Yeah.
in most cases, and again, I'm speculating because I'm not going to say I got a Rolodex full of neurosurgeons in my phone, right? But in most cases, they're not just making money just to make money. There's something they're doing with it on the
Yeah.
backside. So they're having that job, and that job is financing something over here. And if you, because I like watching TV shows like The Resident,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
not, and I'm not saying that like that is the 100% actual depiction of reality, but I also do believe that that is a depiction of a reality, right?
I agree.
One of the reasons I bring that up is because there was one surgeon who was extremely arrogant in the beginning, and then as time progressed, he caught a sickness, and then that sickness, like, really made him look at himself. And then he met his wife there and all kind of stuff like that, and she became the administrator. But his whole mentality changed. It was all about my skills at one point in time, and then it moved from him being like that token guy that was on the side of the building to being that humble guy that really cared about people. So I'm not saying that your job won't point you to a passion. I'm
Mhm.
saying if you really want the value out of the passion, don't do it for somebody else, do it for yourself.
I can definitely get that too, man. Man, we rolling, man. We only 45 minutes almost, man. I wanted to go a little deeper on some of these, man. So
Let's
here we
do it.
go. Um, since you brought up relationships earlier, well, I guess I did, and you talked about it too. Here we go then. For all y'all out there, all y'all couples out there, here we go. Now, it's too late now. We already married. So it ain't no going back. And yes, we should have had the conversation beforehand. However, in most cases, this didn't happen. So now here we are. A couple marries without discussing finances. One saves, the other spends. Tensions build. Can they align financially before it ruins their relationship? The short answer would be yes. But we're not here for the short answer. We want the long answer.
Well, I'm glad you took away my first answer because that's exactly what I was going to say. Simple answer, yes.
Yes.
But what does it take to get there? It takes for them to sit down and have an honest conversation to realign both of their
Bro, the
goals.
tension building, bro. They can't get
Tension,
there. The
tension
tension
can build
building.
all it want to, but this conversation need to happen. If we ain't gonna have this conversation, we're not gonna ever fix it. And I'm not
What
necessarily
about people's feelings getting hurt?
I
Because
ain't care
the
about your feelings.
especially if the person who's spending and we talking about I gotta stop spending some things. I gotta stop buying these cute shoes.
Hmm. Yeah, the answer to that is yes. And it's not. I'm not saying you got to completely stop. I'm just saying,
Instantly.
right. I'm just saying that you might want to put the brakes on, right? And it may not necessarily be her. It might be him.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
whoever.
saying? So it's like we need to identify the things that we are recklessly spending our money on, and then say, "Hey, hold up, let's do this. Let's sit down. Let's first create a budget because they probably never created a budget. That way, they can understand where all the money is going and what they have left over." And then from that point on, they need to have a conversation about where they're going in their life, what they're working towards, what they want their legacy to be, what they want to do for their grandchildren and children and things of that nature and so forth and so on. And then map out a plan to do that. Right. At that if we can't do that, if we can't have that level of conversation, and I'm not talking like that was just wave talk what I just said, but if we can't have that conversation and deeper, then this is going to have a snowball effect that will not only ruin the relationship, but it's probably going to have one person or both people in shambles in the end, because at the end of the day what we're talking about is a conditioning. There's a reason why one person is a spender. If you don't understand why that one person is a spender, you may be on the receiving end of the fact that they feel like now they can't spend the way they want to spend, and now you're responsible for it. Like I'm telling you, not only was I a victim of that, but I'm telling you, other people become victims of that as well. Just because a person never matured in their mind when it comes down to spending money, and then in essence, you're doing everything you can to try to keep the boat afloat. And then at a point, you try to pull the plug. So, you know what, I'm done with this because this is not working. We're not able to have a rational conversation so we can grow and build together. And like I say before, if both of you aren't growing together, then the only thing that's left is for you to grow apart. And that's what's going to end up happening. So you have to sit down, you have to be honest, you have to be transparent, you have to lay all the feelings aside and start talking about the facts, and then plot the course what the future looks like.
Bro, this kind of brings me back to something earlier. Um like this is in the top five like reasons why people get divorced. So if you know that this is a reason that people get divorced, why are we not having these conversations ahead of time? This goes back to the information and the lack of information. Something that we plan on having. We want to have a relationship, we want to have a good relationship, but we don't learn about relationships.
I tell it
Go ahead.
because people who never got proper, people who were never properly equipped are the people that telling people to get married. And I'm not saying that to say that marriage is a bad
Mhm.
thing. What I'm saying is before you tell somebody to get married, parents, make sure that you properly equip them so that they understand what marriage is and
Mm,
how to function in one properly. It's not a independent it's not a it's not a joint living condition where you get to live independently. It is a joint lifestyle that you're now merging together with somebody else. So if you got excess of debt, stay to yourself and fix your debt before you bring it into somebody else's life, hoping that they can fix it for you. You should never put that on somebody else. Don't put the results of your bad decisions on somebody else.
mm. Speaking of bad decisions, um, maybe not a bad decision. Maybe it is. We as both of us being, in the entrepreneur space and still having a job at the same time, this is something that we hear a lot about. And we hear two, for the most part, two mindsets when we come to this. One will say, hey, Be a little bit more careful, take your time, build, blah, blah, blah. And then some people say, hey, just throw it out there and you'll fix it en route. You know what I mean? So there's different mindsets when it comes to taking risks. You know what I mean? But, I know people who were entrepreneurs and who risked it all and lost it all. Um, but there's also a bunch of companies out there that are thriving. The reality of it is most businesses do fail. And we're not just talking about businesses, but I guess in a sense, maybe we are anything that you're entrepreneuring. So, I think we all know somebody like this or been in contact or at least heard a story about it. But what's your take on the entrepreneur who took a risk and lost it all? Some may say at least he took a risk.
I would say, for starters, we got to quantify it all. Okay. Because this kind of goes back to what I was saying previously. You
Yeah.
got to know how money works.
Hmm.
If I don't know how money work, my perception of it all may equate to like all of their liquid assets. They have absolutely
Mm.
nothing at all left to remain, anything of that nature. But that may not necessarily be true because if you set up your lifestyle properly, you have money going here, you have money going here, you have money going here. This may be the money to where it all came from. So if I lose it all here, this is still working. So that's why I say we got to quantify it all. Secondly, I will also say this: low risk, low reward; high risk, high reward. It's just the way it is. I get it. See, we like to live in a fantasy world. And that fantasy world say, oh, I can catch it when it's $2 and I can dump a whole bunch of $2 into it. And then it's going to elevate to it's $1,000. And then I can extract all my $2 out of it because those $2 now they're multiplied a whole bunch of times. Well, sure, that's fantasy. And that's like once in a lifetime. Maybe twice if you're lucky. So at the end of the day, you're going to have like the law of sacrifice must prevail. If you don't exercise the law of sacrifice in your life, then what are your expectations in return? So this kind of goes back to what you said earlier, that entitlement mindset. And a lot
Mhm.
of us are literally riddled with it. Like I'm comfortable, and I'm just using this as an example. I'm comfortable. I don't want to risk anything because at this point, my life is set up to where I'm comfortable. Well, there's this thing called inflation. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's a very bad word. Very, very, very bad word. I'm channeling my inner Donald Trump right now. Very, very, very bad word. It's this thing called inflation. You can stay where you are right now, but eventually inflation is going to slow walk you down. People complaining about how much eggs were not too long ago. Inflation, right? It's going to eventually catch up. And when it catches up, then what? Are you still comfortable? Why not make the decision to do it now? I'm not saying risk it all, but risk some of it, right? Make a decision to risk some of it now. That way inflation never catches you. Because here's the deal. You may fail the first time. You may fail the second time. You may fail even the third time. But eventually the law of sacrifice has to meet the law of averages. And the law of averages say that based upon the amount of times that you do a thing, eventually you gotta win. It's just like if you go out there and talk to 10 people and say, "Hey, I need 10 people to do this. You want to do this? No. Do 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 you want to do this? No." Eventually, three people are going to say yes. That's what the law of averages say. That's why in like it doesn't matter what you do. People always say, "Well, go talk to what really is 20. It's 20 to 3. Go talk to 20 of your friends. You ain't got 20 friends. I'm gonna be honest with you. You got 20 associates. You may have about six friends at best,
Mhm.
but you really got three people that will literally, and I mean it when I say this, that will ride for you. I know three people right now and say, "Hey man, I want to do this. Where I need to be, what I need to do, what I need to bring." That's their response. But then I know some people I'm gonna get like 50 questions. Oh well, you know what is this and what is it for and what do I get in return?
Yeah.
That person ain't riding with you. That's the law of averages. So when you take the law of sacrifice and tie it to the law of averages, eventually you're going to hit something. You have to get some degree of success. Will it be the same as before? You don't know. And that's the beauty of risking it all, right? But you only risk from the space in which you can afford. That's why I say use that job, build your dream, because you're risking the leftover of your job on your dream and you're working on that. And then eventually it starts to build and build and build. And then eventually it's like, bye bye job, hello dream full time. And I'm doing dream full time. Well, what did I just do? I just risked it all. All of what? All of my job. Because I'm not going back. I'm totally committed to this. Well, the entrepreneur who risked it all, he was committed. She was committed. But the outcome, was it their fault? Maybe, maybe not. In most cases, it wasn't, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't take a risk on your life, you'll never experience what your life can potentially do for you.
Yeah. I agree. And I also think, to your point, I think there's a certain aspect of this that's out of the entrepreneur's control. I think that, we have a certain amount of control, but I think we're limited with certain things. And I think at the end of the day, everything has a limitation. Nike has a limit. You know what I mean? It's a lot greater than, a small entrepreneur, but there's a limit to most things. So I think that plays a part in it too. What happened with this entrepreneur that was out of their control? Did they
Right,
start they started an insurance company in California last year, and then 3 months later, the fires came through. So he took a risk and lost it all, but it was through no fault of their own. And
right.
sometimes that's life, and sometimes that's just what happens, man. So we're about to close out, man, but we're gonna close out with the actionable advice. I don't know if you looked at the private chat, but I put through the question in there real quick. But that's what
Okay.
we're gonna do for the final thought this evening. And you ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. You can roll first. I even throw the question up there for the folks.
I'll roll first.
All right.
This is, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it was a good conversation. So make sure that you go back and watch this multiple times. To this question, my actual advice for you guys: if I could give my younger self one piece of financial advice, what would it be? That's a very long answer, but I'm gonna try to shorten it up as best as I possibly can. First and foremost, like I said previously, I would change my mentality, change my mindset as it pertains to as it pertains to finances. Right? Change my mentality as it pertains to finances. Money is a resource. Let me say it again. Money is a resource. If you have a lifestyle to where you can look at your banking account and you don't see where you're sending money out to work for you, then you're not a good resource manager. That's what I'm going to start at initially. If we change the way we look at it, then the way we use it will change. So I must, again, I got responsibilities, pay bills, and all that other great stuff, right? But I must have a portion of my money that goes out and work for me. It must go out with the intent on bringing others back with it. Now, I know in some stages, especially in the early stages, I really got a budget for that because when I'm younger, I can send out little money. And, over the course of time, it will gain big money. But as I get older, my responsibility is lessened. So I can send out more of it. So change your mindset from consumer, say I say it that way. Change your mindset from being a consumer, right, to being a creator of the things that people consume. That's the second piece of advice I would give myself. Being sure you're always going to consume something. I got that part. So if that's what you were thinking, I was saying that's wrong. But you should create something for others that they can consume. You're still going to consume as well, right? So be change your mindset from being consumer focused to creator focused and create something that other people can consume. The third thing I would tell myself is it's a very simple concept, but I don't know why we struggle so much with it. You have to be a giver. Learn how to give. That puts another principle at play for you. The more you give, the more you're going to find that people are willing to give to you. And it's not that you're looking for a one for one exchange. That's not it. Because the person that you're giving something to, or the entity that you're giving something to, may not necessarily be the same venue that gives back to you. So give without the expectation of that person to give back to you, but just know that it's going to come back to you eventually. So practice the art of giving without the expectation of receiving. And I'm telling you, if I could have got those three lessons right around the age of 10, I'm giving you guys some this. Listen, this is something for you guys right now. If I could have given myself those three lessons at the age of 10, I would have been unstoppable at the age of 25, someplace between 25 and 30. It would have clicked. It would have made sense because I got out there in the world and I experienced some things and so forth and so on. So that would be my actual advice. Again, those three things: change the way I look at money, make myself the ultimate resource manager by making sure that I send a portion of my paycheck out so that it can make money for me. And then last but not least, be a very good practiced giver.
So my actual advice for this evening, my first one is one that Coach already said, and that was giving. I think that when you're just a giver and when you give, I just think that um when I guess I believe in the seed time and harvest. So that is definitely something that I would have wanted to give my younger self. The other part of that, which I wish I would what I would give to my younger self is to read more. I was like, bro, look, you got to read. You got to read or digest information about building wealth, about the mindset of money, about resources, about everything when it comes to money. Not that I wanted him, not that I would want me to be some super financial, CPA or something like that, but more so just so they would be able to manage their life going forward. So my two would be to give and to learn, to give money, to give resources, and to learn. What you got over there, coach? You looking good over there, man. I'm liking the hat.
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. Every now and then I pull it out.
Yeah.
I'm good though. I'm good.
And you look like the thumbnail.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, you looking smooth. You should wear it next week. We should wear our hats.
There you go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. You got anything?
No, man, I think this was a great conversation. Again, listen, go back, look at this video multiple times. If you have kids, put this video in front of them and let them listen to it. You might want to have to edit out the smacking part. You know what I'm saying? But listen, let
Yeah.
them look at it. They should look at it multiple times. Get it in their psyche at an early age so that it becomes a part of their thought process when they get older.
There you go, folks. Join us back again next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Coach's Corner. We are out.